I want you to take a second and just think about your morning today,
Oh, yeah.
or maybe your commute yesterday. Do you ever feel completely, utterly overwhelmed by the sheer friction of daily life?
hmm
Just the constant arguing, the endless striving to get ahead, that low-level hum of anxiety over what the future holds.
Right.
It's like we spend our entire lives swimming upstream, fighting these currents of stress and conflict, and we just accept it as normal. We just assume that being a human means, well, being exhausted.
It's basically the defining condition of modern life. I mean, right, when we're hyper-connected, hyper-stimulated, and constantly defending our own tiny slice of the world.
Yeah.
We treat that exhaustion as the price of admission for living in society. But, what if that friction isn't a fundamental law of physics?
Right.
What if the stress you felt in traffic this morning is entirely based on, like, a biological and psychological illusion?
And that is exactly the premise we are exploring today. So for this deep dive, you brought in a document that I honestly haven't been able to stop thinking about since I read it.
I'm so glad it's a heavy one.
It really is. It is a philosophical text written in June 2024 by an author named Su Feng, and it's titled The Connotations of Selflessness, Unselfishness, and Non-Attachment.
Yeah, and I wanted to bring this to the table because it operates as a literal roadmap for opting out of human exhaustion.
Okay.
The author presents a very specific three-part framework for achieving, like, total absolute peace.
Which sounds pretty good right about now.
Right. And Sui-Feng argues that every ounce of our suffering essentially boils down to three core illusions we fall for.
Okay, what are they?
First, the belief that we have a self. Second, the delusion that we can actually own things. And third, the urge to control the people around us.
I mean, that is a massive intellectual swing. We are talking about dismantling the very foundation of how we operate day to day.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's get into the first pillar, because the text does not start small. It goes right for the throat of our identity.
It really challenges the bedrock of, well, Western individualism,
Yeah.
honestly. The very first claim Sui-Feng makes is that there is inherently no self in the universe, period.
Wow.
Yeah, everything we perceive, including our own identities, our personalities, our internal monologue, it's merely a manifestation of what the author calls the greatest creator's consciousness.
Okay.
We are not the authors of our own lives. We're just the medium through which the universe is experiencing itself.
You know, when I first read that, my brain immediately went to, a computer simulation.
Oh, totally.
It feels like the ultimate life simulation game, like playing The Sims.
Right.
When you play The Sims, you watch these little digital people wandering around their digital houses. They wave their arms. They get incredibly stressed out because they miss their digital carpool to work, or, they panic because their virtual kitchen caught on fire. And as the player outside the game, you're looking at the screen thinking, why are you so stressed? None of this is real. You don't have a mortgage. You're just pixels acting out my commands.
Exactly. And the author actually uses a very similar analogy in the text, framing our reality much like a computer game.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In this game, there are countless characters running around, and from their limited perspective, they firmly believe they have a self.
Right. They think they're real.
They think they have free will, that they are making sovereign choices. But Su-Feng argues they are nothing more than manifestations of the game designer's consciousness, simply executing the underlying code.
Wow.
And when you believe you have a self, you become deeply entangled in the roles and the plots designed by the game. You take the plot twists personally.
Wait, okay, hold on. The Sims analogy is a fun thought experiment, but I mean, when I'm stuck in traffic and I'm late for a crucial meeting, my cortisol levels are spiking.
Oh, sure.
My sweaty palms feel very real. The anger I feel at the person cutting me off is visceral. That doesn't feel like a simulation. So how can this text possibly argue I'm not in control when I am the one, gripping the steering wheel?
Well, it feels real because the biological feedback loop is real. But Sui-Feng anticipates that exact reaction.
Okay.
The text asks us to look at the undeniable evidence of our own powerlessness to prove that the driver you think you are is actually an illusion.
What kind of evidence?
The author lays out some pretty stark realities. For instance, 100 years ago, you did not exist. And 100 years from now, you will not exist either.
Man, talk about a perspective shift.
Right. And the author continues by poking holes in this idea of sovereign control, like, who is this self? You couldn't decide your own birth.
True.
You cannot determine your departure from this world. You cannot correct yesterday's mistakes, no matter how much your brain, ruminates and replays them at 2 a.m.
Oh, we've all been there.
Exactly. And you cannot predict tomorrow's events.
There is a part of the text that gets so wonderfully specific about our physical limitations, too. It points out that if we are so in control, why can't we grow an eye on the back of our head? It
Yes.
sounds almost comical, but it proves the point. If I are the supreme ruler of myself, why can't I modify my own avatar? I mean, the author mentions that we can't even stop our own tears when we are cutting onions.
Yeah, let's unpack the mechanism behind that onion example, because it's brilliant.
Yeah.
When you cut an onion, your autonomic nervous system reacts. Your tear ducts produce fluid completely outside of your conscious control. You cannot think your way out of crying.
No matter how hard you try.
Right. Zhufeng uses these biological and temporal limits to ask a foundational question. If you can't control your birth, your death, time itself, or even the tear ducts in your own face, then where exactly is the self?
Who is actually in charge?
Exactly. Who is the I that is supposedly in charge? The conclusion is that the so-called self is nothing but a delusion of human perception. You are just a passenger experiencing the biological ride.
If we truly internalize that we are just passengers, it changes everything about how we view daily friction.
Completely.
The text paints this incredibly vivid picture of humanity. It asks, looking down on the world who is troubled, suffering, anxious, or worried, who argues, attacks, fights, or schemes against others, who is sobbing in a prison cell or shining for the cameras on a red carpet or wandering out in the bitter rain.
And the answer to all of those scenarios is the self. Every ounce of that suffering and striving comes from trying to protect and elevate an illusion.
Yeah.
Because everyone believes they have a self, the chaotic, high-friction world we know is formed. But Zhu promises that if you can achieve the absence of the self, if you stop trying to protect the avatar, basically paradise appears.
You just let go.
You transcend the roles and simply play along with circumstances and destiny.
Well, if the self is an avatar we don't even control, it makes you wonder why we spend our entire lives trying to buy better digital clothes for it.
That is a great way to put it.
Right. Like if there is no internal self to protect, then trying to hoard external wealth is literally a fool's errand. Which brings us to the author's second pillar.
Right. So we move from selflessness to unselfishness.
Yeah.
The text argues that there is inherently no selfishness in the universe itself.
Okay.
It relies on the philosophical concept that form is emptiness. This means everything we see, touch, and desire is fundamentally illusory. And because the physical world is illusory, true ownership is completely impossible.
The text pulls a quote to illustrate this, right? An ancient proverb about the king's land.
Yes, the quote is, "Under the wide heaven, all is the king's land. Within the sea boundaries of the land, all are the king's servants."
Okay.
And Wei-Feng clarifies immediately that this king is not a human ruler. The king represents the creator of all things in heaven and earth.
So if the creator owns everything, then the entire concept of mine or yours or his is entirely fictional. It's just a made-up language we use to pretend we have control over temporary physical objects. It instantly makes me think of playing Monopoly.
Oh, Monopoly.
Yeah, imagine you're sitting around the table playing Monopoly, and you know for an absolute fact the game is ending in exactly 5 minutes.
Okay.
The board is going to be folded up and put in a cardboard box. Would you sit there furiously hoarding the orange properties? Would you be screaming at your friends, feeling genuine rage over a paper $500 bill?
No, you wouldn't, because the illusion of consequence has been broken. You know you can't keep the paper money.
And the text asks us to view our actual lives with that exact same clarity. If emperors historically cannot hold on to their kingdoms firmly, and if modern billionaires cannot take their wealth with them when they die, why do we spend day in and day out earning money in the wind and the rain?
Earning money in the wind and rain. That is such a poetic way to describe the brutal grind of modern capitalism.
It really is.
The text calls that behavior absurd. The people hoarding this wealth don't even know their own life trajectories.
Yeah.
As we established in the first pillar, they can't even control their own biology.
Right.
So how could they possibly hope to grasp and permanently hold on to external objects?
It is a massive cognitive dissonance. We know we are going to die. We know we can't take it with us, but our brains are wired to hoard resources anyway.
Yeah.
And the author doesn't just call it absurd. There is a very stark warning about the physiological and psychological cost of buying into this illusion of ownership.
Right. The text asks us to observe the people around us. Who lives the hardest life? Feng states it is those with the heaviest selfishness.
Mm.
Who is the most troublesome? Those with the heaviest selfishness. Who is the most heartless, insidious, and cunning?
The selfish ones.
The text points directly to those burdened by heavy selfishness.
Uh,
The psychological weight of constantly defending your assets forces you into a state of perpetual combat with the rest of humanity.
The author drops a quote here that is easily the most striking line in the entire document. Hell is overcrowded because people's selfishness is too heavy.
Oh, man. It redefines the entire concept of hell.
It really does.
It suggests that hell isn't a fiery afterlife you go to when you die. Hell is a neurological state of hypervigilance
Yeah.
created right here, right now, by the crushing weight of constantly trying to claim and protect what can never truly belong to you.
Hell is overcrowded. That really sticks with you. But the text provides a contrast. It asks how you feel working and living with selfless people.
Right.
It feels like living in heaven. Heaven is simply an environment composed of selfless people who aren't trying to extract value from you.
Which forces the reader to confront their own behavior.
Mm.
After realizing the futility of ownership and the misery that selfishness causes, do you still dare to be selfish?
Well, throwing away a TV or giving away your money is one thing. Conceptually, you can understand letting go of physical stuff.
Sure.
Where I think people really get stuck, where the daily friction really explodes, is letting go of our need to be right.
Ah, yes. We have arrived at the interpersonal illusion of control. We've dismantled the internal illusion of the self, the external illusion of wealth, and now we hit the third and final pillar, non-attachment.
The universe inherently has no words, and mountains and rivers inherently have no attachment. I love how the text phrases this.
It's beautiful.
All things just transform according to their own nature and find their own peace.
Right, and to illustrate this, the text uses incredibly grounded, specific examples, like cabbages and radishes each have their own beauty.
Yeah.
There were no identical things in the world. You cannot turn a cabbage into a radish. You cannot turn a cat into a dog. It is a biological impossibility.
And the text extends this to human behavior in a way that is so simple but profound. It says, let those who love bread eat bread, and let those who love beer drink beer.
Exactly. The core directive of non-attachment is do not interfere, do not force, see everything as pleasing, hear everything as reasonable.
See everything as pleasing. That is a tall order for most of us.
It is.
The text gets very specific about what constitutes a violation of this rule. It defines attachment as the act of forcing your will onto others.
Right. Feng states that if you think you are right, you are allowed to have your perspective. But the moment you try to make others pee or cook according to your idea of rightness, that is attachment.
I had to read that sentence twice. Making others pee or cook according to your idea of rightness.
It's so funny.
It is hilarious, but think about the reality of it. How much of our daily friction comes from this exact impulse?
Oh, a ton.
Getting annoyed at a roommate because they load the dishwasher inefficiently. Judging a spouse because they chop radishes differently than you would. We expend so much mental energy trying to optimize the trivial habits of the people around us.
We do. And the text scales this up to group dynamics as well. It notes that in any group, whoever bears the responsibility should have the final say.
Okay.
If you are not in charge, but you insist on making the person in charge listen to you, the text explicitly labels that as pure self-attachment. Yeah. Always wanting to correct others is the root of interpersonal conflict.
Okay, I have to pause and ask a practical question here. I hear the cabbage and radish analogy, but what if someone is genuinely making a catastrophic mistake?
Like what?
Like, what if the person cooking is putting tinfoil in the microwave? Or what if my boss is making a decision that is going to bankrupt the company? Does non-attachment mean we just stand by and let people crash and burn because we shouldn't interfere?
That is the big question. To answer why we shouldn't constantly try to correct people, Feng introduces what might be the most fascinating intellectual tool in the entire text.
I'm listening.
It is a coordinate system of human understanding. It explains the mechanics of why people so rarely see eye to eye.
Yes, the coordinate system.
Yes.
That explains so many frustrating Thanksgiving dinners and tense board meetings. Unpack the 4 levels for us.
Okay, so the author categorizes human perception into 4 distinct levels, or coordinate points.
Right.
First, you have worldly people, and they primarily value interests. So, tangible benefits, financial gains, and losses.
Okay, worldly people value interests. Got it.
Second, you have mortals, who primarily value feelings, emotions, relationships, and how things impact their heart.
Mortals value feelings.
Exactly. Third, you have virtuous people, who primarily value logic, reason, objective truth, and structural soundness.
Okay.
And finally, you have celestial beings who primarily value spirituality, the overarching harmony and transcendent meaning of all things.
Interests, feelings, logic, spirituality. It's a ladder of perspectives.
It is.
The brilliance here is the assertion that these different levels fundamentally cannot communicate seamlessly. Worldly people and mortals can never see eye to eye.
Right.
Mortals and virtuous people can never understand each other. Virtuous people and celestial beings can never reach an agreement.
The conflict happens because everyone assumes they're operating on the same coordinate plane.
Ah.
If you value logic and you're arguing with an employee who values feelings, you aren't just disagreeing, you aren't even speaking the same language.
It is like I am broadcasting a signal on an AM radio dial, and my employee is walking around with an FM receiver.
Yes.
It's not that my signal is wrong or that their receiver is broken. The hardware physically cannot process the other frequency.
That is a perfect way to visualize it. And the text provides a brilliant metaphor for what happens when you try to force your AM broadcast onto an FM receiver.
What is it?
It says that if a worldly person wants to correct a mortal, or a virtuous person wants to correct a celestial being, it is like a hen trying to teach a phoenix how to fly.
A hen trying to teach a phoenix how to fly.
It is an act born of complete ignorance regarding the heights of the heavens and the depths of the earth.
Wow.
You simply cannot drag someone onto your coordinate point, and you cannot understand the view from a coordinate point you haven't reached.
So the ultimate takeaway from this third pillar is a profound letting go.
Yes.
You have to clarify your own coordinate system first. Figure out where you stand. Are you driven by interests, feelings, logic, or spirituality? Once you know your point, do not force it on others. Just let the cabbages be cabbages, let the beer drinkers drink beer, and let the AM radios play AM music.
Exactly.
The text summarizes it beautifully. Without attachment, the world is peaceful and life is satisfactory. With attachment, storms arise and chaos ensues.
It is a profound synthesis. Internal letting go creates external harmony.
Let's bring all of this together for you. If we look at this blueprint from Shrifeng, it operates on 3 distinct levels of liberation.
Right.
First, realizing that the self is an illusion frees you from the anxiety of protecting your ego. Second, realizing that nothing in this illusory world truly belongs to you frees you from the greed and exhaustion of accumulating wealth.
Yeah.
And third, realizing that everyone is operating on their own coordinate system frees you from the endless conflict of trying to control other people. No anxiety, no greed, no conflict.
It requires a radical dismantling of almost every default biological and psychological instinct we have.
Which brings us to a final thought we want to leave you with today. Something for you to mull over as you go back to your life.
Right. If you were to actually achieve this, if you genuinely strip away your sense of self, abandon all desire for ownership, and entirely stop trying to influence the actions of the people around you.
It's a lot to imagine.
It is. But how do you decide what to do when you wake up tomorrow morning? Does total detachment lead to total paralysis because nothing matters enough to strive for? Or does it finally free you to experience life purely as it happens, unburdened by expectations?
It's the ultimate question. The next time you find yourself entirely overwhelmed by the friction of your daily commute or arguing over how someone chopped the radishes, ask yourself, are you the player? Or are you just a character tangled in the code, taking the game way too seriously? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Carry this perspective with you today, and we'll see you next time.